In this video 1-3 we will be adding and subtracting integers, so update your table of contents and page numbers at this time. On your input page, write I can add and subtract integers along with today's date. So by the time we're done with the video and the work time in class, you should be able to state that I can. We're going to start with vocabulary on the input. One vocabulary term, which is additive inverse. The sum of opposites is 0. Sum is also another word we use when we are adding. You can see additive has that add in there. Think of sum or addition. You're adding, you're putting together. Inverse, we're dealing with opposites, so those are connected. And so whenever we add opposites, we do always get 0. For example, 9 plus negative 9 equals 0. You can see here in this problem there are parentheses around the negative 9, and a lot of times those are there to kind of help you separate that plus sign from the negative sign in front of the 9. You do not have to put them there, but you'll see that I'm going to do that a lot in the lesson, and you'll see it a lot in your textbook, but you do not have to write those parentheses like that. Negative 15 plus 15. They're opposites. Negative 15 and 15 are opposites. When we add them, we get 0. Notice the parentheses aren't there because the negative was in with that first integer. Adding integers. Now we have some rules that we can follow when we're adding integers. When the signs are the same, find the sum and keep the sign. So we're going to underline some key words. When the signs are the same, you're going to find the sum, the total you're going to add, and keep the sign. When they're the same, you're going to find the sum and keep the sign. And this is with adding. Make sure you keep the addition separate from subtraction. When the signs are different when we're adding, you're going to find the difference and keep the sign of greater absolute value, which is something we talked about in our previous lesson. So when the signs are different, you're finding the difference, which means you're subtracting, and you're going to keep the sign of the greater absolute value. Let's go over some examples here. This first problem, we have 7 plus 7. Now, we know this is a basic arithmetic problem, and you know 7 of something and 7 of another thing. When you put them together, you have 14. We didn't go back and look at any of those rules we were just writing down. We know that basic arithmetic. And then we see in this next problem, it's negative 7 plus negative 7. Now, we can think of this as money. I'm down $7, and then I'm down another $7, so I'm down $14. Well, when we look at these problems, what we're doing here, in both of them, the signs were the same. In the first problem, 7 and 7 were both positive. We totaled them up, and the answer was positive. In the second one, we were dealing with two negatives. We totaled them up and kept that negative sign. Same sum, kept the sign. Now we see something different. One is negative, the other is positive. When the signs are different, you're really finding the difference. Now this would be like saying we're at 0, let's say 0 degrees. The temperature outside 0 degrees. We go down 7 degrees. We're at negative 7. And then we go up 7 degrees. We're at 0. Well, wait a minute. We're just adding opposites. Here's that additive inverse we just wrote down on our input page. When you add opposites, you get 0. Circle your answer. Now, I changed it up a little bit. Instead of just having 7s, 8 plus negative 32. 8 is positive, and then we have a negative 32. That's negative. So this would be like saying I have $8 and then I'm spending $32. If I have $8 and I'm spending $32, I'm borrowing money. I'm in the hole. So I'm going to be negative. We can also look at this as, well, the signs are different. 8 is positive, 32 is negative. Well, what's the difference? When they're different signs, find the difference. Well, the difference of 32 and 8, 32 minus 8 gives you 24. And you keep the sign of the greater absolute value. Well, what's the absolute value of 8? 8. What's the absolute value of negative 32? 32. Remember, it's how far they are from 0 on a number line. 32 is bigger. And since 32 is negative, your answer is negative. So essentially, you keep the sign of the greater number when you look at just the numbers, if you don't focus on positive or negative. Negative 8 plus 32. Very similar problem, but in this one I made the 8 the negative and the 32 the positive. They still have different signs, so you find the difference. Different signs, find the difference. Keep the sign of the greater absolute value. Well, in this one, it's positive because 32 is positive. So our answer is positive. This would be like saying, I was in the hole $8 and I made $32, so I have $24. When we're subtracting integers, there's two main things we look at that we make changes to. We change the subtraction sign to addition. Change the subtraction sign to addition. Change the second integer to the opposite. So two changes. Two changes, and then you add the integers, what we were just doing. So when we're subtracting and we have positives and negatives, we can always make those problems addition problems by making those two changes. Change the subtraction sign to addition and change the second integer to the opposite. Well, once we do that, it is an addition problem and we follow the rules we previously wrote down for adding integers. So, 10 minus 17. I have $10. Can I spend 17? Well, if I'm in the hole somehow borrowing money, I would be negative. I can turn this problem into an addition problem. First, I'm changing the subtraction sign to addition. I made one mark. It was subtraction, now it's addition. But it's not the same problem anymore. This is a completely different problem. That's 10 plus 17. That is not the problem. We have to make that second change. We have to change the second integer to the opposite. The second integer here is 17. The opposite of 17 is negative 17. I made two marks. I made those two changes. Now it's the same problem, just written as an addition problem. So I have 10 plus negative 17. 10 is positive, 17, negative 17, that's negative. The signs are different, so I'm going to subtract them. 17 minus 10. Keep the sign of the greater absolute value. 17 is a greater absolute value, so it's negative because it was a negative 17. 10 minus negative 17. Now I'm going to get rid of these parentheses here because there's something I like to do, and I'll show you here in a minute. But I'm going to make two changes to make this addition. Change subtraction to addition. Change the negative 17 to a positive. So the problem is 10 plus 17. But there's something else I want to show you that I do, which you probably have seen before. Whenever I see minus a negative, taking away a negative is really adding. So I connect them and make it one big plus. And it's 10 plus 17, which gives me 27. Same here, I'm going to get rid of those parentheses, negative 10 minus negative 17. I'm going to make minus negative plus, and now it's my addition problem. 10 is negative, 17 is positive, so I'm really finding the difference because the signs are different. 17 minus 10, and we have to determine, is it positive or negative? Our answer, since 17 has a greater absolute value than negative 10 does, and 17 is positive, our answer is a positive 7. Can you say, I can add and subtract integers? If you have any questions at this time on your output page, you can write some questions down on adding and subtracting integers. And I also would like you to work on these 6 integer problems with addition and subtraction and be prepared with questions and have this done for class time tomorrow.